Welcome to nCode TV. This video is a short introduction to the functions provided by the nCode Address Quality Toolkit. We're going to take a look at how nCode can give your systems powerful address quality features, and we'll use the nCode desktop software to look at some examples of nCode in action. So, what can nCode do? Fundamentally, nCode does two important things. First, it helps make sure that your Canadian mailing addresses are of the highest possible quality. It does this by validating, automatically correcting, and standardizing your addresses, and by making sure your addresses are transformed into whatever format or formats that you require. Second, nCode gives you powerful address searching tools that help you to capture addresses quickly and with minimal effort. nCode searching features include functions that you might find in other SERP-recognized software, like postal code lookup, but nCode also has unique searching capabilities that let you find address information at many levels using any partial address inputs. nCode even lets you drill down to a complete and accurate address quickly and easily. The best part is that with nCode's address quality engine integrated into your systems, your users will benefit from powerful address quality features without having to leave the applications that they're already used to. Let's take a look at a few examples. This is the nCode configuration utility. It's a Windows desktop application that uses the nCode Programmer's Toolkit. You can download a free trial version of this program from the nCode website at www.novamg.com. The trial software includes all of the documentation for nCode, as well as sample programs with full source code that shows you how to take advantage of nCode in your applications. With nCode, you handle your addresses according to your business requirements. nCode is very highly configurable. The nCode configuration utility lets you define and adjust the many options for controlling how nCode recognizes and formats your addresses. This program is also a handy graphical user interface for the nCode batch processor, as well as being a helpful address research tool. This is the Match Address window. With the Match Address window, we can see nCode in action. You can use this tool to match addresses, but better yet, you can integrate the nCode Programmer's Toolkit directly into your own applications and get all of nCode's power and flexibility on your own user interfaces. Let's look at an example of nCode's address correction feature. To use the Match Address window, just choose what nCode feature you want to use. Then, choose what format you want to use for your address input. I'm going to pick a standard layout with 2 street lines and 1 line for city, province, and postal code. And then you tell nCode what format you want your output to be in. We'll keep it the same as the input for now, but as you can see, there are lots of choices. Then you just enter your input address here. Notice that with this input address, the street type and postal code are missing, and that I haven't spelled the city name with the proper accented E. Let's ask nCode to match this address. Here we can see that nCode found this address and automatically corrected it for us. nCode is telling us that the address is correctable, meaning that the input address wasn't perfect, but that there was enough information available for nCode to find the complete accurate address with confidence. Notice here that nCode also tells you what changes it made to the address as part of the correction. You can see here that the missing elements have been filled in, and nCode has even fixed the accenting for us. So what happens if nCode can't fix an input address automatically? Let's give it a try. This time I'm going to pick freeform input. nCode can handle address inputs in as many different address layouts as you care to define. They can be very highly structured, totally freeform, or anything in between. This address happens to have good street information, but the city name is wrong and the postal code is missing. Let's ask nCode to match this address. You can see that this time the address is non-correctable. That means that nCode wasn't able to find a single best match for this address. However, nCode has provided us with a list of best possible matches based on our input criteria. Getting this type of real-time feedback can help you save a lot of time and avoid a lot of trouble when you're capturing address information from your customers over the phone or on your website. Now let's take a look at nCode's searching features. No other product gives you more power and flexibility for address searching than nCode. nCode has two very powerful searching modes that can help you to capture address data quickly and easily. One of the challenges you're going to face when capturing a customer's address is getting it as quickly as possible, while at the same time making sure that you get it right and in the right format. nCode can help. Most addresses can be captured with just a couple of pieces of information, such as a street number and a postal code. Here's an example. Notice how nCode provided a complete, valid, and standardized address with minimal input information. This seems like a pretty good trick, but if you understand how Canadian postal codes work, you'll know that this isn't actually very hard to do, and a number of SERP-recognized address tools can do a simple postal code lookup like this. But what about if your customer doesn't know their postal code? That's where things get interesting. Let's try another example. Here we have just a street number and a street name. nCode knows that there's only one place in Canada where these two make sense together in a real address. That is not something you'll see in a lot of other SERP-recognized software. Something else you won't see is the ability to drill down to a complete address using any partial address inputs. This is the other address searching mode which nCode offers. Let's take a look. Many SERP-recognized products have some kind of searching capability, but they return results at the lowest level of granularity, which is postal code ranges. This is the level of the data provided by Canada Post. With nCode, you can search for results at many levels. What if you wanted to know what street names exist in Mississauga? Let's find out. nCode gives you this answer very quickly. How about which cities have a Bloor Street? This kind of flexibility helps you to drill down to an accurate address quickly and easily and resolve problem addresses with minimal effort. nCode knows everything there is to know about valid Canadian mailing addresses. Let's take a look at another example. Here we have a number and a name. What does nCode make of it? Notice how nCode recognizes that Lipton might be a street name or possibly the name of a town, and it offers you these three options where 10 and Lipton can be used together. nCode's address searching features make it the best tool available for doing address quality right the first time. Next, let's talk about address transformation. Knowing that the contents of your address data are right is very important, but it's equally important for the format of your address to be correct. If your systems expect the city name to be in the city name field in your database, it won't matter too much that the right city name is there, but in the province field. Let's look at an example and see why address transformation is so important. I'm going to enter a valid address in one particular format. Note that everything about this address will be technically correct, but there are going to be a lot of standardization issues, including inconsistent letter casing, extra punctuation, unabbreviated keywords, and no space in the postal code. Let's see what nCode says. nCode is telling us that the address is indeed valid, which means that all of the necessary address elements that are needed by Canada Post to make this a deliverable address are there, and that they're substantially right. There are also a couple of informational messages about this address which are telling us that this is a large volume receiver, meaning that they get enough mail to warrant their own unique postal code, and that this address doesn't have any specific suite information associated with it in the Canada Post reference data. Notice how the output format of this address is different from the input format. The address is now in number-number format for suites, extraneous punctuation has been removed, and all of the keywords are shown using the official Canada Post abbreviations. Notice too that the address is shown on 2 lines using a first line last line format instead of the 4 freeform lines used in the input. With nCode, you have complete control over both the input and output formats, and you can define as many different formats as your business requirements call for. What if your system expects to see city, province, and postal code broken out into separate fields? Well, that's no problem for nCode. You can even see all of the individual address elements from the matching postal code range with each element parsed into its own field. Most organizations get their addresses from many different sources, like call centers, customer self-service websites, address lists and files from partners, or even other divisions. All of these different sources are likely to treat addresses differently. Even if you're lucky enough to have a single point of capture for your address data, you still have to deal with the fact that each person has their own idea about how to record an address, and their ideas may or may not line up with what your systems expect. And they're bound to be different from all your other users, who each have their own ideas too. With nCode, you can take all the guesswork and all the opinion out of the equation and make sure that every address that gets into your system is right and in the right format. To find out more about how nCode can solve your address quality challenges, have a look at our website at www.novamg.com, where you can download our free trial software. We'd love to talk to you about your address quality challenges. Contact us and arrange a conference call, web demo, or live on-site demonstration of nCode. We're confident that nCode is the best address quality software tool for Canadian mailing addresses, and we'd like to show you how nCode can help you to maximize the value of your address database assets. Thanks for watching nCode TV.